Yo, what's good? Solidus-T, the Ice God, right back at y'all. Y'all know what it is. I wanted to do a quick little boxing talk real quick because as you guys know, boxing one of my favorite sports, so I do a lot of content talking about this shit, talking about boxing. It is what it is, right? So I'm gonna chop it up real quick about this. Uh and once again, don't be fooled by the avatar, the picture you see. I don't think Canelo is a clown. That's just a diss to his fans. So don't think I'm a Canelo hater or I'm dissing Canelo as a fighter. It's a diss to his fans. It ain't a diss to Canelo. So don't look too much into that. Salute, Ashy Knuckles, salute. What's good? What's good? So don't look too much into that. But this shit kind of old, but I want to bring this back. So y'all know they had like a few weeks ago when the new year hit, they had the fighter of the year thing, and people was picking who they thought was a fighter of the year and all the little awards or whatever, knockouts of the year, upset of the year, shit like that. But I want to focus on fighter of the year. Now, originally I said, for those that give a fuck, and hold on one second, pardon me. My daughter got upset with me because I showed her your stream about Transformers. This generation is screwed loose. Man, shout out to your daughter. So I definitely ain't gonna say nothing about nobody's daughter, but I feel like when she get older, she'll understand, So I'll say that. But nah, that shit is real, man. Something is weird going on in society, man. They're trying to get everybody to get on the LGBT shit, and I ain't with that. Like, nah, we straight over here. Don't do that type of stuff. I ain't embracing that. I don't agree with that lifestyle. I'm just keeping it real. People get mad at me all they want. It is what it is. But nah, I feel like your daughter get older, she'll understand. It's all good. So it's all good. But back to what I was saying about the fighter of the year thing. So, originally, for those that give a fuck, I picked Devin Haney as a fighter of the year because Devin Haney had an entire community of people hating him, hating his guts because the shit with Ryan, and they hate him. They're saying he's trash and at fighting. He's bad for boxing. They were so happy that he lost to Ryan and he should be out of the sport and all that. That's what all these people are saying about Devin Haney. A whole community of people are saying these things about him. Devin Haney ignored all that shit and went 2-0 last year. And he beat a guy that everybody wanted him to lose to. So it's like, that's fight of the year type shit. It can't have a good story to it. So that's who I picked, but now I'm modifying my pick. I'm not changing my pick. What I'm doing is I'm modifying my pick. So to me, my fighter of the year is a co-pick between Crawford and Haney. In my book, they both want to share the fighter of the year. Crawford gets half the trophy, Haney gets the other half. Why am I doing that? Because what's been troubling me is I got into an argument the other day. That's actually why I'm doing this video. Person I was arguing with, they telling me in a way, who I like, but we got to keep it real, he should be fighter of the year over Crawford because he fought 4 times and he defended undisputed. But these people think I'm dumb. I see right through it. You're only saying that bullshit to shade Crawford because you're a Canelo fan and it bothers you that Crawford beat Canelo. That's the only reason why you're saying that. Because Crawford beating Canelo is a bigger win than any win Inoue had last year, even though he defended 4 times that you guys keep saying. Right? Because a lot of fighters defended their belts multiple times in a year. You don't give a fuck about them. But they're saying it because they're using that to shade Crawford. That's what that is. You feel what I'm saying? Because again, beating Canelo is bigger, better than any win Inoue had. Out of all 4 fights he had last year, he didn't beat not one fighter that equals up to beating a Canelo. So just by that alone, that makes Crawford's win better, thus giving him the fighter of the year contender over Inoue. You see what I'm saying? I would even go as far as to say he didn't beat nobody that was on Brian Norman Jr.'s level. I would go as far as to say that. You know? Because I know what it is, bro. These people that are saying that Inoue over Crawford, they don't give a fuck about those guys Inoue beat. They're just saying it to try to tear down Crawford because it really bothers them that Crawford beat Canelo. Because I'm noticing that it's people that support Canelo that's mainly saying that shit. That's why I'm saying that. You know, they think niggas is dumb and can't see through that shit. No, we see through you motherfuckers. You Canelo fans are not slick. You don't give a fuck about Inoue defending his undisputed 4 times. You don't care about that shit. If Crawford would have done that, y'all would have found the way to discredit Crawford because y'all haters like that. So it's cap. But the thing about it is, beating Canelo was not only a historic and monumental win for Crawford, it was also great for boxing. Oh yeah, beating Canelo was great for boxing because it freed up the super middleweight division. If you were a super middleweight that's actively fighting, you're probably happy that Crawford beat Canelo. Now you can actually fight for a belt now. You dig? And get that championship money. Instead of just having regular fights over and over again, but never getting a title shot. Because we all know when Canelo was undisputed, he wasn't going to fight like the top guy in the weight class. He was going to fight who he wanted to fight. But now that he lost all the belts are scattered. Now it's going to be various fighters that are deserving of title shots fighting for belts now. So Crawford actually helped out the super middleweight division. All the guys like Usli Iglesias, Armando Resendez, Hamza Shiraz, Lester Martinez, Christian Mbili, all those guys are happy because now they get to fight for a belt now. The belts are free. They're not being held hostage, like they say, by Canelo. Canelo wasn't going to fight any of them guys. He was going to fight who he wanted to fight. You feel what I'm saying? What up? What up? What's good? So it was a great win for boxing, not only just Crawford. Boxing's in the super middleweight division's in good hands now. There's a lot of talented fighters up there, and they get to scrap for them belts now because they don't got to worry about Canelo holding the belts. Canelo wasn't going to fight Christian Mbili. He wasn't going to fight Lester Martinez. He's only fighting Shiraz because Turkey is pushing for that. Turkey wasn't involved. He wasn't going to fight no Shiraz. He was going to fight who the fuck he wanted to fight. That's what he was doing. You feel what I'm saying? So not only was it a great win for, also a great win for boxing, especially the super middleweight division, 168 pounds. You got to salute that. You feel what I'm saying? And that's just real. So yeah, Crawford did a great thing. You know what I'm saying? And then, you know, people like to talk that bullshit. You know, people still talking bullshit. Oh, he never defended undisputed and all that. But it's like, when you actually think about that, you can kind of like that. You can kind of like be dismissive of that because it's like, well, I beat the guy that had all the belts. He was the best fighter in the weight class and I took his shit. It's like, why is it a big deal that I'd happen to not defend undisputed knowing that? You know what I'm saying? Because like I said, the Canelo fans are the ones that are saying this crazy ass shit. So I'm challenging them. They're not keeping that same commentary. That's the issue I'm having. And as a boxing fan, I like to inquire about that. Because it's like, well, when Canelo was undisputed, what top fighter in the division did he fight that was worthy of a chance, of a title shot? He didn't fight any of them. He didn't fight any of them. You already know there was one guy that was a threat. He didn't fight him. There was another guy that was like worthy of that. He didn't fight him. You know, he fought guys. Let's just keep it real. I like Jaime Munguia. I like Edgar Berlanga. Those guys are good fighters. No disrespect. But let's just be real. Those guys are layups compared to David Benavidez. Let's just be real. No disrespect. They're good fighters. They're not bums. So don't get it fucked up. But those guys are layups compared to a David Benavidez. So what that means is Canelo, when he was undisputed, he didn't even defend his undisputed straps against the best, like they keep saying they want Crawford to do. He didn't even do it. But they're putting that on Crawford because they're that upset that he beat Canelo. That's what they're doing, these Canelo fans. They want him to do something that Canelo, who's so great in their eyes, didn't even do. You see what I'm saying? That doesn't even, now, when you think about that, it don't even make sense. Because who was the best super middleweight in the weight class besides Canelo? That was actually a threat to Canelo. David 300, David Benavidez. And then not only David Benavidez, David Morrell was a formidable opponent for Canelo to fight. He didn't fight either one of them. He fought who he wanted to fight. Because like I said, Mugia, Edgar Berlanga, good fighters, but those guys are layups compared to them guys, especially Benavidez. But all these Canelo fans, they get on here and say that bullshit. Oh, well, Crawford didn't defend undisputed and all that, but your boy didn't either. You know what I'm saying? Or he did, but he did it against guys that were layups. But you want Crawford to fight Godzilla because you want to see him lose because you're upset that he beat Canelo. And you don't even know he'd be taking it personal like that. And now you're trying to shade him again with the Inoue shit. None of you Canelo fans give a fuck about Inoue fighting 4 times in 1 year. You're just using that as a way to discredit Crawford. In the back of your head, you know that Crawford beating Canelo was bigger than anything Inoue did. Let's keep it real. Canelo is the motherfucking face of boxing, or formerly the face of boxing. He's the most popular fighter, right? Everybody loves the guy. He can't do no wrong. He gets outboxed. There's a million excuses for that. He's the guy, right? Yeah, he's the face. He brings in all the money. Thanks to the Mexicans, he brings in all the money. And he got beat by a guy that is really a welterweight, super welterweight. You feel what I'm saying? That's bigger than any win Inoue had all last year. So, but you still want to get up here and say he's better than he did something better than Crawford did. You still want to say that. I give you those facts, you disregard those facts, and you still want to say that. The person I was arguing with, they had to cop to that after I said it that way. Because it's facts. It's all facts. What did I say that wasn't facts? What did I say that was bullshit? And then let's take another spin at it. These silly ass Canelo fans are saying that Canelo was the only fighter that Crawford beat. That was like a big name. That was actually a great fighter. That's a diss to Canelo. See, when they say that, these Canelo fans, they're not thinking. They're just running their mouths, but they're not thinking. See, it's not good to talk before you think. And that's what these Canelo fans are doing. Because that's a diss to Canelo. What you're telling me by saying that is, oh, Canelo was trash then. He got beat by a dude who ain't got no experience fighting a good fighter. Because Canelo fans have said to me, whether on the internet, they said, or in person, that Canelo was the only fighter that Crawford fought that was actually good, that was a big name. That's what some of these Canelo fans are saying. A lot of them. That's a diss to Canelo. So they're saying that Canelo got beat by a dude who fought mediocre or bad fighters, and then Canelo's the only guy that he fought that was good, and he goes in there and outclasses Canelo. Canelo must be trash then. So I'm going off what the Canelo fans are saying. They're telling me, they're saying in other words that Canelo was trash. That's what they're saying. In other words, Canelo was trash. That's what they're saying to me. So I'm going off what they say. Canelo was trash. Because like I said, how'd he get beat by a guy that has no experience fighting top level guys then? He just got outclassed like that. Then they're going to say, oh, Canelo was old and washed up. Ha! If Canelo was old and washed up, Crawford is even more old and washed up. He the one that's damn near 40. Canelo was in his mid-30s. Crawford is technically a 40-year-old. The man's 37 and up. Canelo's a little bit younger than that. So Crawford is old and washed up. But they're telling me, nah, Canelo's old and washed up. So an older man beat a slightly younger guy, but the slightly younger guy is old and washed up. That's what Canelo fans are saying. And they're getting on this, why they're getting on these lives. They're saying this ridiculous stuff. Hit them upside the head with some facts. They calling you names, all this crazy shit. You got to fight and argue with these motherfuckers every single time. Only reason why I'm doing this video, doing this live, is because I'm going to be honest, talking about boxing is actually more fun when you don't talk about Canelo, because there's so many other great fighters. But I get annoyed with these Canelo fans, so I feel like I got to keep my foot on their neck. So I decided to do this, discussing that. You know what I mean? Because I'm telling you guys, the only reason why Crawford is getting shaded for being a strong contender for a fight of the year is because of Canelo. Because all the Canelo fans are mad that he beat Canelo. So because of that, they're coming out of the woodworks. It's a whole cult following of these motherfuckers, and they're all saying that Crawford don't deserve fight of the year. He only fought once. Blah blah blah. His resume is whack. All that bullshit, right? So, but we real boxing fans know better. You know, we real boxing fans know better. So I feel like I got to do that, because that's all that is. Because none of those wins Inoue had equal beating a Canelo. Knock it off. And like I said earlier, not even Brian Norman Jr. Not even Inoue doesn't have a win that's bigger than Brian Norman Jr. That's why I say Crawford and Haney, they should share the Fight of the Year award. For real. They had the best stories. All you Canelo fans was swearing up and down Crawford was going to get knocked the fuck out. All you Haney haters, y'all was celebrating like it was fucking New Year's Eve when he lost to Ryan. Happy as fuck. Y'all prayed on that man's downfall. Talking about his personal life when that shit got nothing to do with boxing. Give a fuck about these niggas' personal life, but you guys do. Ridicule this man, all types of ridiculous insults they were saying about this dude. And y'all kept that same energy. He goes 2-0. He makes Ramirez look like he don't even belong in pro boxing. But all y'all cared about was Devin Haney was boring and ran. That's all y'all cared about. Then he goes in there and beats Brian Norman Jr. He gets him out the way, takes his belt, first fight at the weight class. You know what I'm saying? And y'all still running around saying he's a boring fighter. See, that's the problem with sports. People that are so-called fans, they don't understand what's going on. Like, let me pivot real quick. It's like basketball. I sat here today watching these games on NBC. I watched at halftime. They had the All-Star game. They revealed the starting lineups. And I'm sitting here looking. I saw all the players that got named. And I'm like, see, the fans, because they said the fans voted them in. I'm like, now, yeah, I'm a Timberwolves fan, right? And obviously Anthony Edwards is my guy. But I'm thinking to myself, like, they got Luka Doncic as a starter in the All-Star game. The fans voted him in. An unathletic guy, can't play defense. He don't play without the ball. He just stands there. He don't do shit but shoot threes and foul bait to get free throws. That's how he's averaging over 30 a game. Fans literally are voting him in the All-Star game over players that play more efficient than that. So what that's telling me is the fans think Luka is one of the best players in the league, but I'm thinking to myself, like, are you guys even watching his impact? You know what I mean? He can't play defense, like I said. He has no bag for real. All he does is foul bait. If you take the ball out of his hands, he don't do shit but stand there. And you got players that do more than that. And they get snubbed for a guy like that. See, that's what I'm saying. These fans, they don't know what they're looking at, bro. And that same bullshit can be applied to boxing. These guys that are so-called boxing fans, they don't even know how to critique a boxing match if there's no knockout. If there's no knockout in a fight, these people that watch boxing, they don't even know what they're looking at. They're just like, oh, wasn't no knockout, so I'm bored. And most of these motherfuckers, when the fight is on, they're probably on their phone, not even really paying attention. You know what I'm saying? They're probably not even paying attention. Like they don't even know what they're looking at. They're just don't know what they're looking at. And these are the people that be in the YTBC. They get on these panels, just running their mouth, saying all types of bullshit. And people like me got to hear that dumb shit. And like, I get frustrated. And it's like, you guys don't even know what y'all looking at, bro. It's like somebody got to get knocked out for you to understand how boxing works. Other than that, you have no clue on what goes on in that ring. You're just watching. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't like they don't even know how to watch a fight or critique a fight if there's no knockout. And these are the people that got the loudest voices in the fucking YTBC, the YouTube boxing community. And it's like, you guys don't really know what's going on. You're just running your mouths, talking crazy. You guys don't know nothing about no boxing. Not for real, for real. Might know a little bit, but not for real, for real. You know, that's what I'm saying, man. People don't even know what they're doing, bro. Yeah, that's a fact. He had to. Because he was caught wrong. And then you said they're really casual fans. That's a fact. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We got a lot of hardcore boxing fans, but they're really not too knowledgeable about the sport. And they're getting on here calling other people casuals, calling other people out their name. You know what I mean? Arguing with people and shit. You know, these people are doing that all the time. And it's like, it's crazy, bro. So, yeah. But now I'm going to let this one slide off, right off into this. I'm going to let this one ride off into the sunset. Let this one slide. I'm about to jump off. But yeah, I just want to speak my piece on the fighter of the year thing. So I feel like it should be Cole, fighter of the year between Crawford and Haney. In my opinion, people might disagree, but they had the best wins of the year, I felt, because they had the best stories going into those fights, my personal opinion. So people can disagree, that's fine. But that's what I felt. You know, Crawford not only had a great win for himself, but he had a great win for boxing in the super middleweight division because the belts are freed now. Fighters can actually, in those weight classes, they can actually fight for belts now. And then Haney, first fight at 147, he beats the top guy when everybody wanted him to lose. It's a great story. So those are my two fighters of the year. Y'all ain't fucking with that. That's cool, but that's who I got. And it's kind of hard to argue against me on that because the facts are the facts. So unless you're on some real hater shit, you might find yourself struggling with going against that. David Benavidez also had a great year. You know, his year was great too. You know, I would put him in the top three, top five contenders. I would put Benavidez up there. Because beating Morrell and then beating Anthony Yard, that was those were great wins. So yeah. I like the Morrell win better though. Because I knew he was going to watch Yard. But Morrell, I believed he was going to beat Morrell, but I thought that was going to be a very competitive fight because Morrell is really good. But I thought he would win, and then he did. But if you go back and watch that fight, that was a very competitive fight. But I knew he was going to watch Yard, though. I wasn't too much worried about that. You know, I wasn't too much worried about that. So Yard ain't got nothing for David. We all knew that. But yeah, I'm gonna let y'all go. I want to just say that, and we'll ride off. I'll be back with more content. Y'all know what it is. Solidus-T, the Ice Guy, signing off.